Why did you launch him 80 feet in the air?
You told me to boat flip him!
I didn't tell you to launch him 78 feet in the air.
I flipped him in the boat, didn't I?
Send it to the moon.
I sent it! You said boat flip him!
Oh, yeah.
Do you fish? No. You know, people who don't fish think that fishing is lazy or boring, but it is the complete opposite. There are 100 little decisions to be made, variables to be considered, and you're never quite sure what made the difference. Did I cast too high, too far to the left? Did I reel it in too slow or too fast? Is the lure too shiny or too dull? Do I stay here or should I go over there? And you know it's not luck, but you do not know by how much. Because I am never, disappointed out here because I don't expect anything, because anything is possible. I can be hopeful out here, even in failure. Because I know if I just go out there around that tree, it might be different. Something might be different. Something I do might make a difference.
On my property, you didn't win shit in my yard.
Wait.
All of you.
Daddy, chill.
What the hell is even that?
You're listening to Fishing the DMV with your host, Thomas Ahrens. Fishing the DMV is brought to you by Jake's Bait and Tackle, located in Winchester, Virginia.
If that doesn't get you jacked up, I don't know what will.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Monday Night Live. How's everybody doing this weekend? Labor Day weekend is in full swing. How many of you actually braved out to get out on the water? I know most of the places near me have been absolutely jam-packed with boats. People that are trying to get in that one more summertime ride on their jet ski or their wake boat. It was pretty crazy this weekend for me. So I did not decide to go out fishing at all. I did go out on Thursday though. Got to fish the Thursday nighters. I think this last one was at Big Slack actually, which was a lot of fun. We got second place. I missed big fish by ounces. I think big fish for here was like 3 pounds on the dot, and I was like at 299, 298, something like that. Weights aren't great. I mean, the place fish is kind of like the Ohio River. You know, you catch a 3-pounder, that's a big old pig, but it's still a lot of fun, especially when it's only like 10 minutes from my house. I really enjoy that. Before we get into it tonight, as always, guys, in the comment section down below, please let me know how the audio is before we kind of get going with this episode here. I'll be throwing some links up here shortly with the call-in numbers. Hey, Shane, how are you doing? Let me know how the audio sounds right now tonight. Because we got a really good show for everybody here. Jay Love, audio sounds perfect. Sweet. Okay, perfect. So since audio sounds good, we can kind of just get into her here. Put that up there. Perfect. Audio sounds great. David Williams, how you doing tonight, bud? Scott, went out Saturday. Water level's way too low. Yeah, the whole Shenandoah Basin area is under a huge drought right now. So it's really hard. And the Shenandoah Valley's been hit really hard. I also just want to say, hey, there's my co-angler or my backup when my wife can't fish. Curtis Cole, what's up, dude? Good to see you tonight, dude. Also, I want to say a huge shout out to all of my Patreon supporters out there. I really appreciate it. We have swelled over 20 in less than a week, which has been absolutely awesome. I'm going to be bringing out more content specifically for all my Patreon supporters. Again, if you don't know about it, we just started a Patreon. We have a goal to one day start our own nonprofit to actually do supplemental stocking in Virginia and Maryland. We got permission from all the different DBWR agencies. We're allowed to do it. We have the green light, but first we're trying to hit some of our goals to actually do that, to where we can go into places and do supplemental stocking, hopefully, and help out the fisheries. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun if we can get to that tonight. So anyway, we got a really cool show for you. We got a call-in show, and we're going to be talking about some of these issues with, I don't even know if these issues, the drama, the juice surrounding forward-facing sonar. I kind of been out of it the last couple of weeks, so I've been trying to catch up on what's been going on, but apparently it has absolutely blown up with all the memes. You probably have seen them. It's been posted everywhere. And I think it really kind of delves back to, if you look at Lake Champlain, the St. Lawrence River, Lake St. Clair, all these smallmouth derbies, the past month or two, where people have been really using their forward-facing sonar. And from there, the memes and the comments online have gotten very communicative, passionate regarding forward-facing sonar. And so today, I don't think this has been done before. I wanted to do a call-in show. I wanted to get people's opinions and thoughts on it. So, without further ado there, I'm going to drop a couple things. I got a link if you want to come on with your face, or if you want to call into the show, there you go. You guys can come on. You can leave a voicemail if you would like to. I'm going to drop the number right here. The number is 240-542-9877, and you can kind of give your thoughts on everything. I don't know if there's probably already been a couple of shows that have done this, so I'm probably a little bit late to it, but I want to get everyone's thoughts on how what they think of forward-facing sonar. I think, and we got Shane right here with a good comment. If you're going to fish the circuit, buy live scope. If you're going to fish the circuit, buy live scope. I mean, yeah, I mean, that's what I want to get into tonight. See everyone's opinions on live scope, where they think this is going to go. And I think one thing we have to look at is just the technology side of things. You know, in 2004, 2005, Humminbird first came to market with side scan. Side scan first came to market. Then at that point, everyone thought that was like a complete game changer. It's nuts how that's going to change the whole industry up. And then in 2017, you know, Ultrix came out with Spot Lock. You know, this idea that you could actually have your trolling motor hook up to GPS and keep you right on a spot the whole time. And then Garmin came out with Panoptics in 2015-ish area. And so if you look at this, like there's always been the steady drumbeat of technology kind of coming in to fishing and kind of changing the way we do it. Just to give you some context of how this all worked up. Oh, it looks like we got our first caller here. All right, let's see. Caller, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Awesome. All right, so since I do not have caller ID, could you, what's your name and what are your thoughts?
I'm Zach Schrock, and I'm from Williamsport, Maryland.
Oh, how you doing, Zach?
Good.
So what are your thoughts?
What's that?
What are your thoughts on the whole forward-facing sonar stuff?
Yeah, I personally use forward-facing sonar myself.
What do you think about it?
I don't think it's like, yes, it's an advantage, but you can't really like make the fish bite like the bait and stuff. And like you can see them, and like you can see how they react to your bait, and like, I mean, I don't think they should ban it, like the major tournament circuits and stuff. And like, I don't know. It's just like, it's not really that much of an advantage. Like you can see the fish, but you just can't make them bite. And especially when you're fishing that shallow water, especially like on like the Potomac River and stuff, like it doesn't really matter like if you're using it or not.
Well, honestly, I think you're a great person to have on to talk about this. Let's pretend that I just woke up from a coma the last year. What is the controversy surrounding it, and how did all the memes get going? Do you kind of understand all that's going on social media?
Yeah. Yeah, I understand from like a co-angler's perspective, because like they can't see it because like the boater can turn it off like on the back screen from their console. But I mean, it's just part of being a coach, to be honest.
Why do you think it's not as big of a deal compared to like when you look at people online saying their passionate view of it? Where do you think that comes from?
I mean, can you repeat that?
So why is there so much hate around forward-facing sonar? Like, what are your vibes on that?
I think it's because like you have the guys out there that's like never used it before, and they've seen the videos and stuff, like the old videos when forward-facing sonar first came out, and you could definitely like tell a difference between fishing without it and fishing with it back then. But nowadays, like the fish can tell like when the forward-facing is on. The fish can feel that in the water, and like. When I was in Florida and I was using my forward-facing sonar, I was fishing like 6 foot of water, and this is in January because we were fishing around grass flats, throwing like a jerk bait, and like it was like 6 to 12 foot of water, and we were throwing jerk baits and stuff, like flipping it through the grass. And I mean, around grass, it's not really like that much of a big deal.
I definitely think there's more nuance to it versus all the hate that it's getting, and I think I'm really glad I got somebody on the show to talk about the pros of it, because when I came up with this idea, I thought it would just be a shit talking on forward-facing sonar for 2 hours. So, Zach, I'm really glad you started off the show with somebody in the pro camp, because I kind of wanted to have a balanced approach to this. So, thank you so much for coming on. If this is a good number, I'm going to text you after the show. You're going to get a $5 gift card to Jake's Bait and Tackle.
All right.
But hey, thank you so much for coming on the show, dude. I really appreciate it. You're gotten to start off with this Monday Night Live. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Talk to you later, bud.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
All right, guys, that was our first guest. I was okay. Not gonna lie, I was shocked. I really did think he might be the only guy that's gonna be for it to balance this argument out. But that's a good start. So, and we also have somebody else in here to talk about the forward-facing sonar. I'm gonna bring him into the queue right now. There we go, Shane. You got the
Hey,
phone?
Thomas, how are you tonight?
I'm doing wonderful. Yeah, I mean, you have forward facing sonar. This will be fun to get your opinion on it. Yeah, what do you think is going on with it just blowing up with all the hate? It feels like it came out of nowhere, or it really blew up with the amount of hate it seemed like it got online.
Yeah, I think it's been building up for a while, and there's a few pros. I'm not going to mention their names, so I'm not going to give them props. But I follow a few that they just will not, bend. They're like, it's cheating, it's cheating, it's cheating. They're losing, they're losing, they're losing. It's their money, right? So they've started a trend, and they even sell merchandise, stickers, live scope sucks, things of that nature. Instead of trying it and understanding the technology, they've got enough momentum now to try to ban it. That's part of what they're trying to get done, is get it banned. It's just like everything in life, right? We evolve with technology, and fishing has evolved year after year after year. There's going to be the next thing after live scope. You and I both know it.
Mm-hmm.
But I said in the comments earlier, if you're going to fish the major circuits, BAS, MLF, whatever circuit you're going to fish, everyone's winning, and for the most part with live scope, right? They use it to their advantage. Now, I'll give an example. Last year, I went down and fished the Lunkers Championship tournament on Lake Eufaula, Alabama. I came in third place and got big bass. I never turned live scope on one time, right? So but you've been on my boat. I've got it,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I know how to use it when I need to use it, but I also understand how to fish. I know where the fish are, time of years. My fishing experience comes in. So if you combine your fishing experience with the technology and not just depend on one or the other, I think it makes you a better fisherman.
I 100%. I got it on my boat this year. I have the Gruesome Twosome. I have now Mega 360, and I also have forward facing sonar. And I think when people watch the commercials, and I'm going to say they sold this thing perfectly, that you'll be able to see every single fish, and you drop the lure right in front of them, and you're going to catch 30 pounds each time. They sold that very well from a marketing standpoint.
Absolutely.
But honestly, how many times I fished this year where it's not that I saw them, it made my decision process so much faster. You scan around a cove and there's nothing there. I'm gone. I'm bouncing. Yep. You don't see activity. You can process information. They're stuck to the bottom. I shouldn't be throwing a jerk bait. I should be like hitting it with a shaky head or something. Yep. That's where I think a lot of pros, they don't talk about that part of it. It's the marketing that you see when you go to St. Clair, you go to Lake Champlain, the perfect places to video game fish. And then that's where people's minds are sold, versus when you have tournaments that it really is just such a smaller factor into it. And I think that's another part of this conversation as well that you don't hear about as much.
Right. You're absolutely right. I mean, it shortens your decision-making process when you're out there on the lake, no doubt about it. But what the caller prior to you said is, just because you see them doesn't mean you catch them, right? And that's really, really true. When they're not biting, they're not biting. A cold front moves through, and and if you're lucky enough to see them, because usually they're stuck on the bottom. And when bass are right on the bottom, it's hard to pick them out on live scope. But if you do pick one or two out, it doesn't mean you're going to bite. They're not going to bite. The conditions matter. But I do think that the marketing, like you said, the marketing is a big factor. But also, when you think about people, and I've heard this, and I understand this because I'm guilty of this. No one wants to watch bass fishing and just watch people looking down at a screen, right? And I'm guilty from this time to time. I just edited a video for the channel, and I was like, I'm making sure if I can avoid putting something out where I'm just looking down at the screen, I don't want it, because it becomes a habit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Look down. So.
It becomes a habit, and that, again, if you don't want that on all of your tournaments, it's about scheduling. I mean, this happened. Oh Lord, Chad, help me out. When Kentucky Lake was really big and ledge fishing was huge, the FLW had a tournament where you had two guys on a ledge and they had an argument, and the guy just left championship day and he was leading. Huge confrontation. And that's because you scheduled an event during a ledge fishing bite when this would be an issue. And again, I'm not saying you can fix it completely, but one thing you can do is try to schedule events when live scope wouldn't be as much of a factor.
Right.
Boom. You can solve a lot of that right there.
Yeah.
What the thing that's interesting to me, what are people's I feel like people don't understand how complex this issue actually is. Where, okay, if you could, I'm just going to take this side of the argument here, just for this analogy, you get rid of live scope and you put a cap on all the technology. Great. How much of the industry is made up of brands that actually promote technology? What will that do to the industry if you tell Lowrance, Garmin, Humminbird, Minn Kota, all these things, like, we have to put a cap on this, you can't sell this? Do you think that's going to push more money or less money in and out of the industry to hurt all these guys? Because you're not making a living on winnings. It's basically sponsor driven, which means it's technology driven. You have to sell the next thing.
Right. There is definitely a second and third order effect that they have to think through. And I think, BASS, the major tournaments, are really considering all that, because a lot of that money flows from these companies for their sales and things of that nature. So yes, you got to be careful what you ask for. And just little local leagues. I mean, one of the local electric only leagues down here, I can't fish because I have live scope, and that's fine. There's another league that I will fish that doesn't allow it. So maybe that's the answer. Maybe just design a non-technology league, just at the competitive level, at the pro level. See how many people sign up for that, and let the system weed out, right?
Let capitalism do its thing. I agree with that. And that's another part of this thing that we need to have is, okay, ban it. Well, crappie fishing already does this, where you do, like you said, you have scope events and non-scope, but the professionals, guys, they have to have it. If the technology is allowed to exist at all, the pros have to have the best stuff because they're the ones that are going to sell it. That's 100%. I think we should all agree on that, and they can all afford it. So I don't understand that part of it, I guess, when you have to do that. And the example I see with a lot of this is, I think it's because I was in baseball for so long as a coach and as a trainer. Before they had BB Core regulations, which was basically the velocity in which the ball could come off the bat, they made baseball bats that were insanely hot. And the prices started to get up there where, inflation today, those bats, if you bought one of those bats now, it'd probably be like $1,000 for a little league bat. And you'd be like, why would you do that? Because Timmy could weigh 6 pounds and he could hit a ball over 300 feet. It was insane. The technology bloomed. So they cited safety reasons, which is probably true, because the baseball bats were getting too hot. So they capped it. Well, here's the issue when you capped it. At that point, you're buying a product that's not as good, but you're still having to pay high-end prices. And there was a huge dip in sales for a while. They got around it in Little League because they declared that if it's not a brand new bat, you can't use it. But the point was, there was a real shift in the marketing for a couple of years, because it's like, you have to buy the next generation bat, but it sucks. It's not as good.
Right.
If you cap all this technology, it's going to be interesting to see how that would affect the industry for a couple of years. And I know people think that's boring and not to care about that, but it's a factor people really need to think about. And then the last thing, and I'll stop talking here, I'll get your opinion. Why is it people are complaining about this, but not about boat prices being $200,000? Well, that makes no sense to me.
Yeah, I agree. And, the second part of that is if you can afford a $200,000 bass boat and you don't throw a $1,500 live scope on it, come on.
That's blowing my mind that people are saying it's too expensive. It's one more thing, but they're okay with mortgaging their home and their future for a brand new Phoenix. And like, that seems a little squirrely to me, like how that is.
Yeah. I was just thinking, trying to get around to another part of the live scope thing. When you talk about the industry, a lot of lure companies are now saying building lures that you can see better on live scope. So again, back to that, other effects of the industry. And I think we're making better lures today, right? So if you pause the live scope, we cut down the live scope, we capped it, or whatever you want to look, or ban it, what else are we doing to the lure market? What we catch our fish on. So that's something to think about as well.
Now, on the other end of the spectrum, eventually, do we need to have a technology cap on fishing? Like NASCAR has caps on their engine power and things like that. Is that something we should look at, guys? I mean, let me know in the comment section down below, or you can call in. But I think at some point there will have to be a technology cap. I just don't know what the heck that would look like.
Yeah, I remember reading BASS magazine when I was a young kid, and they talked about, and I can even see the graphics in my mind today. They talked about being able to see the fish under the water. That came true. The other thing they talked about was the lures that could find fish. You throw it out there, give it slack, and it can find fish. That might be a game changer that we'd have to be able to have to think about, because that technology kind of already exists in other areas of technology where they can seek things out, right? If you mastered that and just was able to throw, I'm just making this up, a lipless crankbait out there, and it was able to go towards the fish, like had built-in sonar, that would be, that could be a major game changer. And that was in Bassmaster magazine in like 1984, 1985.
That's freaking insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you guys look at it too, I mean, again, you can Google this all yourself, but like an Ultrex trolling motor really came, I think it came to market in 2017, and people thought like this was a very big luxury item. And now it seems like every boat has one now. Almost everyone has some kind of spotlight trolling. Not everyone, but a good majority of the population. And that's 6 years. And I think Garmin really came to their Panoptics in 2015, 16, and now everyone has it within the last 2 years. So we're not even 10 years with forward-facing sonar. So it is interesting to see this lull of, is this just a flash in the pan like every time a new technology comes, or is this legitimately something that's going to be happening?
Yeah, it's a good question. And, the one thing you got to really think about too is if we're going to limit things, should they be, because you're talking about these $200,000 bass boats, safety is always an issue, right? No matter what, people die. I heard about some guys dying in a tournament in Seminole, speeding past. If you've been on Lake Seminole, it's narrow. Some of the channels you got to get through. They hit in a high school tournament, killed 2 teenagers. If you're going to think about safety, that's the first thing I would consider if you're going to cap something. Maybe engine size, speed, etc. But how you could tie forward-facing sonar into safety, or that would be a tough one. But I think the cap needs to come. You need to look at keeping boaters and fishermen safe first if you're going to limit something.
And then Thomas has a great question here. Thomas Ruby, in baseball, we don't let pros use aluminum bats. That's technology. The idea is to even the playing field at the professional level. So let's break that down. So the analogy I meant was basically, you look how an industry got affected when they put in regulations on technology. So the whole idea with the baseball bat industry is technology is what sold you buying a more expensive bat because it gave you an advantage. So from this thing here is like, well, why is it pros don't do it? The biggest thing is safety reasons, 100%. So forward-facing sonar, there's no safety issue there. Right now, a professional athlete using an aluminum bat, that is reason why they put the restrictions in, is because it was getting dangerous as well. Now, if you're going to be talking about just the technology and making it even there, I understand what you're saying with wooden bats. I think the better thing there when you're talking about an even playing field is kind of with NASCAR is a better thing, where each car now has a limit on everything it has. So there is a competitive advantage there. And they used to do that in bass fishing with the Bassmaster Classic back, I think the last year was 2005 or 4, where everyone had the same boats, same amount of tackle. I think that's what will make the most people happy is you say, this is the budget. You can spend this amount on your boat. Yeah. Boom.
Yeah, that's probably a good approach. And if you want to put live scope on it and stay under budget, and not put in a 3 or 4 rod and reels, that's your choice.
Yeah, because I mean, I get, and that's the thing is too, is like, to me, optically as a marketing team, the live scope is not what kills it. It's when you see 50 graphs on the front of that damn thing. Dude, that's a lot of money. Like, you can have one graph on the front and the back of your boat and have a lot of technology, and it doesn't look as bad as when you see 3 or 4 on the front. It's just like, good Lord. Yeah,
we're talking a lot about live scope though, but a lot of bass fishermen, they have 3 screens around their console. And they are side scanning, they're down scanning, they're using all the technology combined to locate bass. And I know how to do it on side scan. Matter of fact, I cruised around on Saturday and found some bass on side scan. So it's not just live scope that can help you find fish. Now, live scope's going to help you pinpoint, but it's not all the technology combined is how these fishermen are out there, competing. And that's what they have to use to be competitive. I mean, they got big screens on there.
And that is a competitive advantage. And the other thing too, guys, if you want to talk about money and where money goes, and another one, the article, I think it's Chris Johnson was talking about this, where it comes down to, is it too much of a competitive advantage? that is such a vague lawyer statement of, okay, is knowledge a competitive advantage? You say you want to ban live scope maybe at the BFL level, but you're allowed a pro angler come down. Isn't that a competitive advantage to be a pro angler? What if you're a guide? That's a very vague thing to have an argument with of like competitive advantage, because where does that lead? Because you want to ban live scope that everyone can buy, but if you're a pro with the knowledge, that's a competitive advantage that's allowed. So I just feel like that gets really into the weeds if that's going to be kind of the argument there. Oh my God, we have a lot of questions on this. Yeah, I knew this was going to be a hot topic. Western Mid Bassin, we fished the Thursday evening tournaments as well, and you won a tournament with live scope, but the last tournament was won by a guy putting on the tournament who didn't even have a depth finder. It's luck and angler skill, and it comes down to that. And then Western, that's a good question. I'm not catching a lot of fish with the live scope though, especially on that part of the river. The bigger ones, at least where we were fishing, they're pressed to the bottom. What I'm looking at more of like is just bait fish activity. If I see that the area is like dead and there's nothing moving around, I'm not going to catch anything.
Yeah.
I've caught 2 fish last Thursday. I caught one that I saw on the graph. The tournament I won, I caught none of them looking on the graph. So again, I think that's also an issue there where it's misleading that people assume if you have live scope, clearly you catch every damn fish because you're looking at your screen. That's not true at all. It's really not. Let's get a couple through more of these questions. And then, you know what, guys, I'm going to throw up this number here, because I know I have like a ton of people texting me right now that want to get on the show. 240-542-9877. Also, the link is there as well if you want to hop on the show and give your piece about the forward facing sonar thing as well. Again, guys, also give Shane Flynn Outdoors a link. He also runs, I'm just going to say, the world's largest online tournament organization until he tells me differently.
Largest in the United States.
Largest in the United States so far. He will be going to Thailand and Singapore soon as well, if he can. And then you have a tournament going on right now, correct? Can people?
Yeah, we have a smallmouth slam going on right now. It's just smallmouth bass only. It ends on the 10th of September, and then our fall slam, as we call it, is a team tournament. So you can join. It's a 6-week tournament. Your teammate does not have to be in the boat. It can be a virtual teammate anywhere in the United States. It's a really cool format, and if you want to learn more, you can go to my YouTube channel, and I got a video on the format of how it's going to be. So we keep it competitive. So if you live in Florida or you live in Maine, the way we put our formats together, it makes it competitive around the United States.
That's freaking awesome, dude. I really appreciate that. Again, guys, please give him a follow. I really appreciate that. Shane, thank you so much. I'm going to keep cycling people on here. Again, guys, give him a follow. Link in the episode description. Thank you so much, boss.
Yep. We'll talk to you soon, bud.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
Now that's guys is really interesting there. And that's some really good, let's see. We just called in. All right. Yeah, guys, please call into the show again. My phone line has been absolutely jammed. Please feel free to call in again, leave a voicemail. Good Lord, my line is packed right now. We have over 35 people watching. I've had 6 people already call in all at the same time. If it goes to voicemail, that's because somebody's already on the show here. We have 5 people calling at the same time, and my poor wife is running back and forth with the camera right now. I'm going to get through some of these chats while we get this next thing hooked up right now. Yeah, put him on. You're putting on Phil?
Yes. Phil's been on the phone.
Hey, caller. Hey, caller. Who is this?
This is Boyd Duckett Jr.
Hi, Boyd. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing just fine. I just wanted to, I heard you were talking about, forward-facing sonar potentially being banned, and I just wanted to let you know I gave a $5 million grant to Garmin to continue developing technology, and I gave another $2 million grant to MLF to keep doing what they're doing. So I think we shouldn't have any problems, and we're gonna have smooth sailing from here on out.
So what possessed you to really want to give out this grant?
Well, what's good for Alton Jones Jr. and Jacob Wheeler and everybody, what's good for them is what's good for me. So, I just want to see the technology continuing to advance, and I want to see the bag weights continue to go up, and hopefully the viewership will rise.
So, Boyd, do you run LiveScope on your boat?
Absolutely.
What are some
Absolutely.
keys to
I've got 5 transducers on there. I've got 2 on the front trolling motor. I've got 2 solid mountain ones on the back, and I have another one at the console seat, just so I can watch, while I'm running.
How many fish have you given cancer to? That's a lot of transponders and transducers and graphs on that boat.
Well, the science isn't necessarily out on that yet, but I'm holding a phone here that's bringing in 5G waves, so I mean, I might as well give the fish cancer too while I'm at it.
Boyd, thank you so much. I mean, before I let you go here, what do you think about the drama between MLF and Bass?
Oh, I'm not too worried about it. I think, I think Bass is getting a little complacent, and I think they're going to lose some of their best anglers to us here before long. And, I've heard of these guys, Matt Streichel and Hunter Smith, are coming up through the BFL series. And I think they're going to fish their way up to the Toyotas and get on the Pro Tour. And they're going to bring a lot of new fans, a lot of new coverage to the sport, more specifically to MLF. And I think we'll be just fine. I think Bass is digging their own grave.
Boyd, I can't thank you enough for taking time out of your busy schedule to come on the show and giving your 2 cents worth on Forward Facing Sonar. I really appreciate it.
Oh, that's no problem. I mean, you've got my phone number. If you have any questions about, any of this stuff or tournament rules or what Boyd Senior's eating for dinner, you can give me a call anytime.
Boyd, I can't appreciate it. Thank you so much, and I'll be talking to you later. Everyone, Boyd Jr., everybody, thank you.
Yeah, have a good one.
All right, guys. So I was not expecting that phone call tonight. That was very interesting. We got a couple more people here calling in. I think this is one of the Matts. I'm giving guys, we got another really good guest for you right here. This is I'm sorry, I'm a little taken aback by I can't believe I got Boyd Duckett on this show. This was quite amazing. Matt, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. I can't believe Boyd Duckett knows my name. Knows who I am. Me and Hunter both.
You guys are absolutely famous. The fact that Boyd Duckett somehow got my phone number and knows you guys, you're going places in the world.
I can't believe it. I'm blown away.
The fact that he's running those 6 LiveScope black boxes. I mean, the freaking cancer he's giving all the fish in his lake, but he must know some kind of secret.
I heard he had 8, but
it could be 8.
I don't know.
That yeah, absolutely. So as I get my composure back here, so yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts about this whole thing? I saw a couple of the things that you posted on your short feed, I think on Instagram, which was a really cool. I don't know if it was you, but I'll give you credit for it, showing the history of looking at your graph and things like that.
Yeah, that was me. The other day I woke up at like 4 a.m. and I wasn't fishing, and I saw Randy Blockett's post, and it was just like, all right, dude, I'm over it. I remember watching dudes video game fish when I was in high school, like back in 2007, 2008. And it's literally nothing new, especially for the Northern Swing tournaments. And I guess if you want to say it's boring to watch, I guess it is. And that's something I think is more on the broadcasting side than the angler side. But I don't know. I had to post some of those videos because I've just always remembered it. I always thought it was so cool.
I mean, watching Aaron Martin, some of those guys back in the day, like just looking at a 2D sonar and that you could actually snipe fish is, I mean, first off, good Lord, we've come a long way with technology. I mean, I would not have the patience now with my ADHD brain to do that. And you hit on something interesting. And I brought it up earlier with the Ultrex trolling motor, where few people had spot lock. And now it seems like every boat comes with spot lock. And maybe this is just it. We always complain at the newest technology. That's what we're good at, is complaining.
I think that's what it is, because you kind of saw the same thing with side imaging, right? When that came out, people wanted that banned too.
It is, and what's so crazy to me, and this is something I've learned now that I have it on my boat, is people always assume because you have that, clearly that's all you use. Now, granted, you and maybe Mr. McCluskey, like you guys definitely are way more proficient at it, but it's interesting that you automatically assume he has live scope. Clearly, it's almost like that's the reason he's good. I guess is kind of the thought process people have.
Maybe. I mean, that might be people's initial thought. I know that's not true because the dude was winning Fountainhead tournaments before LiveScope was out. So you can't really place that skill like directly with the LiveScope. I remember going out with him before he had it, like maybe a year and a half before he had it, and it was like July. And we went out, and just his skill of even reading the 2D or his down imaging and side imaging is pretty phenomenal. Like that, we had a sick day out on the res, and it was all like he was just calling the shots. We'd side scan a point or see it on down. He'd like be like, "Oh, that's a spoonfish right there." Pick up a spoon, turn around, flip it out to where that fish was, and catch it. Like very impressive and very sick.
I really do appreciate. Did you see that post Josh Douglas made a couple days ago about it?
No, I didn't.
So he talked about how like I'm gonna just basically try to paraphrase it. Go look, comment section. I'm gonna say this wrong. Basically, everyone had live scope at Lake Champlain, and we all sucked. So what does that mean? Because therefore, if I have it, I should be fishing better. And I thought that was interesting. The way again he rewarded that. Yeah, if everyone has it, it really doesn't come down to the deciding factor. It really comes back to your fishing skill. And I think that's interesting that you do need to break it down between the professional levels and the lower levels. If you were going to do some kind of law or legislation, it would have to be broken down between the professionals, the AAA, AA, and single A systems. Because if everyone gets it and everyone has it, at that point it becomes, are you good at using it? And then your fishing ability, it does neutralize it completely.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the thing. It's like, are there any pros right now fishing that do not have a forward-facing sonar unit? Like, do you know if there are?
I think in crappie fishing there is. I know crappie fishing, it's big where you have leagues that are like with live scope and without. And then I think I heard that my Thursday night league, I guess, possibly is going to be getting rid of live scope next year. I could be mistaken. So, let me know in the comment section down below, guys. You'll let me know for sure if I'm wrong about that. I don't know. And I had Chris Johnson, who runs a Potomac guide service, and he talked about like, well, one of the things that came up is an unfair advantage. And I think that's just a vague ass term to say, because it's like, okay, well, what if you're a guide that can shotgun tournaments? Is that an unfair advantage? Would Matt McCluskey say like, oh, you've won here, 20 years in a row? That's an unfair advantage now. Like, I don't like that as the only excuse, unfair advantage, because professionals can jackpot BFLs and that's okay, but you can't buy forward-facing sonar because that's bad for a co-angler. I don't know. That doesn't line up well in my brain.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. I mean, it is obviously, and I don't want to say like it's an advantage to have, but the thing is, it's like available to everyone at this point. Like, it's not even overly expensive. You can buy, even if it's a LVS 32 with a black box, like you can find them used for like $700, which, yes, that is a decent amount of money, but for the whole thing, you can get into it with a 9-inch graph, which goes on sale brand new for like $600 every 4 months or something. And you can find a used live scope. So you're looking under what, $1,500, $1,300, you can get into it. And I don't know. I think it's a lot of guys that don't have it, that have never truly used it. Like, they might have gone out on someone's boat and watched them catch a bunch of fish on it or something, but like, I don't know. The people that complain about it, I just don't think truly use it.
Well, this is so. I don't know if this guy's related to Boy Jucket Jr., but Phil Mahegan says boomers are terrified of young guns that are extremely proficient with electronics. Phil, that is there's some wisdom right there in those words, bud. There's some really good wisdom there. Let's see. Jared
For
Mounts.
sure.
It's a tool. It can help you find fish and catch fish. I've always heard many examples of pros and amateur anglers watch 100 fish, check out their lure, and they only catch 3 of those. And I think, Matt, you've talked about that ad nauseum on your channel, where if you're sniping fish, it's not like you're catching 1,000 each day if you're hunting the right ones.
Oh, I mean, Jared nailed it on the head. Honestly, 3 fish out of 100 would be good a lot of days. I mean, it's unbelievable. Like, it doesn't make the fish eat. This is the thing that, like, again, going back to the people that haven't truly used it, that I feel is something they think. They think that, like, oh, he's got a live scope. Every fish he sees and casts to, he catches. Like, it's nowhere near that easy. It's great to, like, see where your bait is if you're fishing brush piles or, like, rock piles on a point. And, like, okay, cool, I saw my baits going down to that area. I know I'm going to have a good cast here and I'll be able to pull through all that cover and I see fish on it. But it's, like, not a guarantee those fish will eat. Like, I'll say 99% of the time they don't.
Why is it in the industry, with all of its issues, and you know, forgive me if I've already kind of asked this question already, this is the hill people want to die on. It's not that baits are more expensive, entry fees are going up, gas prices are too expensive, a brand new boat, if you buy that Icon boat, IKEA boat, it's like $200,000. We don't want to complain about that, but this is the hill that we want to die on.
I guess it's just, like, the most current common thing people can complain about if they don't have it. It is, like, there's always, I don't know, I think fishermen just like to cry about something always, no matter what it is. And right now, this is just one of those things, because so many people do have it, but then on the other hand, there's still obviously quite a few people that do not have live scopes. So it's like the first excuse that they turn to like, oh, this is why I did shitty in this tournament, because I didn't have live scope and all these guys are live scoping fish. That's my assumption.
Matt, I mean, thank you so much for taking so much time out of your schedule to to call into the show. Guys, that was a heck of a follow-up from Boyd Jr. Matt of SB Fishing. Again, like and subscribe to his channel there on Facebook. He knows a thing or two about forward facing sonar, so it's really cool to get his perspective on this whole argument, because it's insane how fast this blew up.
Lost you there.
But yeah, Matt, thank you so much again for coming on. I really appreciate it. I have 7 voicemails, so I'm going to get to the next few callers here. But thanks again.
Anytime, dude. Talk to you. Bye.
All righty. We're going to go to our next caller here. Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Jeff, calling from Centerville.
Jeff, how are you doing?
All right. How are you doing tonight?
Oh, better than I deserve. So what are your thoughts on the whole, this hot topic?
You've had a lot of pros. I'm not for it at all. Not at least on the pro level. And I may be an older guy, but the way I look at it is the young guys take it away, see how good they are. Or these boats, you're talking about the Icon boat, that thing's 145 plus your trolling motors, plus your lithium batteries. Now you get into all your graphs. It's not fishing. It's technology. And when does this just become people watching screens and then soon have automatic casting, automatic reeling in? And when does it stop being a sport and just a computer game that you're watching?
What do you think the cutoff should be?
That's a tough question, because I do believe electronics, there is a point of electronics that should be used. Obviously, I think there's safety involved in it, and I watched, Greg Hackney even said it the other day on another podcast I watched. They're fishing in spots that they have never fished before because they're finding them with this stuff. So, and the weights have gone up. So there does have to be, I do think electronics have their place, and I think they're great for the recreational, because you do want to go out, you want to catch them, you want to be efficient. But for the high-end tournaments, some of this 360 and this forward-facing sonar, I think it's just getting to a point where when does it jump the shark? When does it become more of a tech world than an actual sporting event? And that's really the ultimate question, because I do think it has a place, but I just don't think when you're talking about at some high level, and that's why John Cox is one of my favorites. If you watch the last tournament, he gave his graphs to Matt Airy because he forgot them. He just doesn't even use them.
I think it was the last tournament he won on the Tackle Warehouse Tour. I think was it Smith like a couple years ago? Like Lawrence gave him the forward facing sonar, but he forgot to put it on his boat, and he won it with a damn swim jig. He won the whole event with a swim jig, and he's like, "Yeah, I left it in my truck. I didn't install it yet." I mean, he's freaking awesome. His whole style.
It is, and it's cool, and it's that I like following him. So it's a tough question. You're gonna, I don't think, I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know what the answer is. I just think at some point, hey, you do it. There's got to be a cutoff, and where that is, I have no clue yet either.
So what if they did this where you're only allowed 2 graphs? You can have as much technology as you want, but you only get one 12-inch graph up front, one 12-inch graph in the back.
I'll be quite frank with you. I may not be the best person to ask about how much technology to have on there, because I have a 2005 Nitro with the original trolling motor and the original Lowrance graph that I call Pong, because it's literally black and white and Tetris. It looks like Tetris. And hey, I'm fine. Like, for me, I do some tournaments, and I'm not a great tournament guy, but I do it for the hey, I can't play football, I can't play baseball. I'll blow out my back and knees in a week. So I like to go out there. I like to find them. But that one graph on the front and back. Like I said, I do think there needs to be technology for the safety, especially when these guys go out on water and they've never been on there before.
100%, like, you do need technology, and it is, and I think this is like something we can all agree on. We're going to get to the point where we have to have caps on the sport. We need to have caps. And I think the scary thing is, with technology advancing in the way it is, I mean, Lord, everyone knows, if everyone that's listening or watching, like AI and how that's blown up, like, we're getting to a point that we do need to put caps on, but what is that? And to me, I don't know, like, if you put a cap on it, how much is that going to hurt the anglers when it comes to sponsorship? If you tell Lowrance and Garmin, no more technology, it stops here, what is that going to do to them? Is that going to dry up money in the industry?
But here's the thing. All right, so Garmin and Lowrance, but you still got the boats that, all the boats, and then there's a gazillion different lures. I mean, when you look at their shirts and you look at the overall, maybe the Garmin, Lowrance, those are the biggest money makers or thing, but there's a gazillion other sponsors, and, what's best for the sport? That's the biggest question. I mean, I know this is an argument that's been said, but it's, hey, baseball and PEDs. Brady Anderson hit 50 home runs when he was on the juice, couldn't hit 30 when he was off it, and even though the game was more exciting because everybody was knocking home runs, what was best for the sport? And that's kind of where, the two big organizations have got to look at this and go, what is the best for the sport? When does it become too much?
Yeah. And then, I mean, adding to that whole thing with the steroids so with the steroids, the issue there was it was illegal and people still did it. That's part one, is like, it was against the law to do that. Whereas forward facing sonar,
but technically it wasn't against the rules in baseball.
You were not allowed to.
Some of those guys.
Oh, go for it.
Some of those guys, they didn't get in trouble if they apologized for using the substance, but it was basically don't ask, don't tell, until, then it just became too much, and you saw 120 guys pumping up to 250. It was nuts.
Yeah, and that was because, again, was it illegal? Yes, it was. But just because something is illegal doesn't mean the organization does anything about it. I mean, if we want to go into baseball talk, guys, we'll be doing this, going back to Mark McGwire back in the 1990s. So turn out we flip up to baseball stuff. And then you had the Sammy Sosa steroid area with him and Mark McGwire going at it hand to hand. And then Barry Bonds blew it out of the water when his head grew 3 sizes. And he went from 6'3" to 6'8". I mean, yeah, and that I see where you're coming from with the argument about it did completely change the sport though when people used it. It changed how you pitch to batters. It changed ballparks. It changed the lineup really a lot. So I completely understand where you're coming from with that, and not to get too much into the weeds and make this a 2-hour baseball talk. But yeah, I 100% see where you're coming from with that. And Live Scope changed it, and side scan when that came in there, and I think it was Alton Jones went on Hartwell back in the day with that, it changed it. And then spot lock, which really is weird, that doesn't get as much stuff about spot lock and power poles and how much that changed it. No one talks about, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but that no one talks about how much that has changed. I can't live without having power poles just to dock my boat by myself. It's really nice just for that stupid little thing. But it's all technology.
You'll never want to go fishing with me. You'll hate my boat because I don't have spot lock, which is driving me nuts, and I don't have power poles.
Well, but before I let you go, Jeff, if you could pick between having spot lock or power poles, which one would you want on your boat?
With my boat, what I have, I take the spot lock.
Ooh, okay. Why?
Yeah. Well, and I'm going to be getting it. So I bought my boat literally 1 year ago, August, and it's the first new to me boat. It's an 18-footer NX82 with a 115 on the back. So with full live wells, full tank, and somebody else in there, I got to go, stop, let the wash get me up, so I can't put power poles on the back. It's just too heavy.
Dude, Jeff, well, thank you so much for calling in. I really appreciate the insight. And guys, yeah, you see, we finally got somebody else's opinion here that's on the other side of the fence here, which is awesome. Please feel free to call in. I'll be throwing the number back on screen. Jeff, thank you so much for calling in. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, man. Have a good night.
You too. And there you have it. That is awesome. And then we got Phil say, show the screen. Phil, what are you talking about here? Let's get through some all these conversations here. We had up to 40 people. I mean, Lord, this is a hot topic. I have a phone call because I got another guest that's coming in. Sorry. And then we're going to actually wave to her. So say hi. She's the one. I know she's short. Hold on a second. Lowering the desk for the midget. So yeah, she's running the phone right now with our really primitive phone calling system that honestly is working pretty well tonight. I'm kind of shocked by it. All right. So we have another Matt that we're going to be talking to right now. Boyd, don't worry. We'll get you back on the show. Hello.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All righty. So guys, we have another guy that supposedly has used Forward Facing Sonar once or twice. He has paid his mortgage on a certain body of water. I think it's called the Res or Occoquan Reservoir. Matt McCluskey, or as for some reason, I've lovingly called you as Mr. McCluskey at this point. God knows how many times I messed that up. But Matt, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I mean, the floor is yours. I mean, I'm assuming you've been listening in to everything that's been going on.
Yeah, I mean, I've been trying to keep up with everything that's going on with the Elite Series and stuff. It's so hard to get information because they don't want to tell us anything. With you'll get little snippets of oh, these certain pros are complaining, but you really have to dig into social media to figure out what's really going on. But I don't know. With my opinion, there's kind of two trains of thought on it. It's the polls that Matt posted on Instagram earlier in the week. It's what's more annoying, Forward Facing Sonar, or people whining about Forward Facing Sonar, or it's just hilarious. It's just but the two trains of thought are: do you just not like it, or do you just not like watching it on live? And the guy Phil, who commented just before we got on the call, he said, "Show the screen." I think the way they fix how live has been over the last 3 events, because all the drama really started when the Elite Series took the northern swing. Yep. I think, I mean, it's kind of just been boiling, but when they go up north for smallmouth and you don't have 21 pounds, you're not even getting a check and covering expenses for driving 14 hours from Tennessee or wherever up to Michigan, you know. But to show the screen is they need to figure out something with sponsorship to get Lowrance and Garmin and Humminbird to show the screen, like see what the anglers are looking at, because I feel like that would change a lot of people's opinions on it. Because most people who have an opinion on it don't know really what it does. So it's just, if people were actually able to see it and see how difficult it truly is, then I think some opinions may be changed. But I'm on the side of it's extremely boring to watch guys just stare at their screen for 6 hours and then all of a sudden they reel down and you hear the spinning rod drags start coming out. So
it's so interesting because I mean, even Matt brought it up. You know, guys, I'll say SB because y'all know that, because I can't just say Matt said this and the other Matt said that. So let's go SB. What SB was talking about was guys, go to his story. I think it might still be there, but looking at 2D sonar in Lake Erie. Either way, you are looking at the screen and you're on bodies of water where there's nothing you're looking at. You're in the middle of a damn ocean and you're looking at this dude. So even if you didn't have a graph in front of you, what the hell are they supposed to be looking at? There's nothing there. It's all the same, especially when you're on Lake Erie, St. Clair, the St. Lawrence, these big open oceans. And because there's about 7,000 people making baseball comments, another thing there is baseball had this issue because it was boring and they're trying to do some kind of change there, an adjustment. And I think you're 100% right. If they can figure out the technology to where you can pair that to the screen, that would be a game changer if you could watch exactly what they're seeing. And we got Brian, Brandon, Forward Facing Sonar will most likely not be banned in the competitive side of bass fishing. Most of the negativity about it comes from the guys who doesn't have it or understand how to use it. Everyone wants to be a winner. Having Forward Facing Sonar doesn't automatically make you a winner. It's an advantage for sure, but it's allowed and doesn't break any rules. The guy who is putting it in his time on the water, doing his homework and staying focused is the guy who's going to come out on top. Well said, sir. Well said.
Yeah, I mean, he just hit the nail on the head with that. But I mean, the last two Fountainhead tournaments, we've got third place and second place, and we've lost to guys who aren't using live scope. So it's not an automatic, oh, you're winning. I mean, we've done well, and it's helped in the last couple of events tremendously. But it's like it's not a guarantee that we're going to win, or anybody who has got live scope is going to win, because most people have it at this point.
Yeah, and that's SB Fishing. Matt says I caught one Sunday on second when Ace was up front. Yeah. So what do you think it should be banned? Do you think there should be limits at the lower levels compared to the pros? Like, what are your thoughts about that when you structure it down from the pros down to the single A level?
The pros, it'll never be banned because there's too much money coming in from Garmin, Lowrance, and Humminbird for them to sponsor Bassmaster, and that's how they pay all their employees. They pay the payouts. Like it'll never go away on the elite level and like MLF and stuff. I don't think personally, but on the lower level, I mean, it's a discussion that needs to be had within the clubs and what people are willing to do, because I mean, a lot of guys are weekend anglers not only because they don't have the time, but you can't afford to travel state to state. I mean, it's an expensive sport. Like it is very expensive to travel and fish these tournaments and stuff. And I don't know. I feel I can't say I don't want it to be allowed, and I want it to be allowed. I mean, I love using it, but there's times where I do think like it would be nice if we went back to when we didn't have to use this.
Why?
I think the previous caller made the comment. It's like, it becomes too much sometimes. It's just like, I want it to go back to just like not knowing the whole fishing used to be, you have no idea what you're about to catch. Like you could say, oh, it feels like a bluegill biting, and set the hook and it's a 6-pounder. But on live scope, if I see the fish, I mean, you can't exactly tell how big the fish is, but you know if it's a bigger than average fish. So like you could see a fish on live scope 60 feet out, and your heart starts pumping already because you're like, oh my gosh, that's a big one. Like that's a fish that could win a tournament, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely taken some of the guessing aspect out of it. Cause I mean, obviously you can pull up on a spot and put the trolling motor in the water. And if there's no fish, like you said earlier, leave. Like there's no reason to fish it. So I think it's taken away from the traditional aspect of fishing in a big way. But I mean,
my God,
I don't know. I'm positive and negative on the whole live scope thing.
I think it was interesting with one of our callers earlier when they said, like, you know, if I have to buy a brand new boat that's over $100,000 and then I have to buy,
I lost you. Hold on.
And
you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Hello.
Hello. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, now I got you. Sorry.
Perfect. No, you're good. I think it was interesting. One of our callers earlier was talking about, if I have to buy a brand new boat that's this price, and I have to buy all this stuff at this price, I don't want to have to buy also live scope, which is a very interesting idea of pondering it. But to me, it's like, with that mindset, why do we have to spend $100,000 on a boat? You know, look at the kayak industry. If I want, I could buy a brand new kayak, pimp it out, and I'm under 10 grand with everything. 10 grand with everything pimped out.
Yeah.
Why is it the conversation is live scope is bad? I don't want to pay that money, but I'm okay with forking over $100,000 for a brand new boat. That makes no sense to me, where people are disconnected that the Phoenix brand new, it's fine buying that, but I don't want to buy the black box for live scope. That to me is just very weird.
I will say, fishing all the Potomac tournaments, and I haven't fished BFLs really since live scope came around, because I'm a co-angler, but I mean, most of the boats have it now. Like I don't think it's for bass boat fishing, like, unless you're fishing just a Wednesday night tournament and that's all you do. But like, if you're fishing a trail on a body of water, a lot of boats have it now, minus the Potomac River, because you don't need it. Like, unless it's the springtime and there's not a lot of grass, and even in the spring when the grass is coming up, it's useless on the Potomac River, in my opinion. There's too many catfish and carp, unless it's in the spring and you can actually see. But
and percentages, honestly, like, so example is on the Potomac River, what percentage of the catch will be that? Like, so let's say if you're at the res at the prime time for it, maybe it accounts for 50% of the fish that you put in your boat, versus the Potomac, it might be like, what, 1%, less than that? Like,
yeah.
And I think people need to understand that. And a guy in the comment section later on said, like, well, I won one Thursday night. I did, but the tournament I won, I didn't even use a live scope because the fish were suctioned to the bottom. You couldn't see it. Like, I've caught 2 fish in that tournament series this summer that I saw. So just because you have it doesn't mean, like, percentage wise, this body of water, it's going to equal this amount of catch.
Yes. You have to put a tremendous amount of time into it for it to truly, like, get your catch percentage where you look at 50% of the fish that you're weighing, and that's a crazy number to begin with. But but back to the cost of it, it's like most bass boats at this point have it. I mean, the newer ones, at least. I mean, if you're buying a 2020, 2021 boat or newer from a dealership, most of them are going to try and upsell or already have installed the live scope to it. So it's just, it's never going away. That's the thing that people need to understand, I think, is the genie's out of the bottle here.
It is. And again, I just come back to this comment I saw on somebody's Facebook about unfair advantage. And I want to ban live scope because it's an unfair advantage. But if I'm a pro, I can get a brand new Phoenix boat for free, which means I get the whole Phoenix Big Bass bucks. So I can fish a BFL, and then I'm going to win $10,000 off of that because I got a free sponsored boat for 2 years. That advantage is fine. We're going to allow that, but the live scope is not allowed. Or if you are a guide and you get to fish the BFLs or jackpot tournaments, that's allowed. And I'm not saying whether that should be or should not, but if you're going to take that and that's your argument, well, that can be, you can apply that in so many ways. And that's Pandora's box when you say, like, oh, this is too much of an advantage. Like that, there's got to be more to it.
Yeah. I don't know. This is just crazy controversial topic right now, it seems. And it's reached the boiling point. And now everybody's just like, what is going on in bass fishing right now? So,
and bass, we got Thomas, I apologize for your last name here, bud. Thomas Ruby, Bassmaster Elite AOI, Kyle Wetcher credited Forward Facing Sonar for his title. He admitted that without it, he had no chance. Does that make him the best angler? What do you think?
So if he did, I assume he watched Kyle Welcher posted a video. Everybody's been posting videos about the whole forward-facing sonar thing. And Hunter, his wife, asked him, do you attribute all that, or do you think you could have done this without live scope? And Kyle made the comment, with everybody has live scope, yes, obviously he did it. And he said, if everybody doesn't have live scope, my chances would go down, but I would still have a chance to do it. So it's the whole, I get there's certain people who just have success because of live scope or have learned it well, but it does, like, you have to have skill as a fisherman to use it correctly. Like it doesn't fix everything. Like, if you're not on the water and you don't understand like what is going on, and you don't have just good fishing intuition to begin with, like, it's not going to be everything.
Yeah, and guys,
so,
I hate to go down this, but that guy got me thinking about the whole baseball thing with the steroids. The issue there was when you had great athletes taking an illegal substance to make themselves superhuman. Joe Schmo taking steroids did not help him. He still sucked. And that's what I don't think people understand about the whole steroid issue, right? It's like, I think this kind of goes into your argument. Just because you took the steroids or have live scope, it doesn't matter. You need to have that set of skill that it enhances. And that's what was so crazy about live scope or steroids, is good anglers became better.
Yes. And it 100% took some anglers who were middle of the pack and the guys who grasped it the most, and it shot them to the top. So, I mean, it helps guys big time, and then it hurts the guys who are not willing to learn it at the elite level and whatever level it is. If there's clubs getting dominated by forward-facing sonar, it's like people not wanting to learn it as much as the one guy, you know? That's my take on it.
And this is a good message here. Forward-facing, this is from Andrew Redding. Forward-facing sonar is just another tool. I agree it's boring to watch, but so is 11 pounds in the Sabine. What needs to happen is MLF and Bass need to spice it up and show the screen. I think I think they would if they had the technology.
They have the technology. They've done it already.
To put it on every single boat?
No, I would assume it would be able to be on every single boat, because they're only doing 6 live cameras. So it just needs to be on the 6 boats. And I mean, it could be as easy as the thing you plug into the USB on the back graph. So if you have a Lowrance on the front and then a Lowrance on the dash, you just plug it into the Lowrance on the dash and share the screen from the front to the back, and Bassmaster can stream that. In the Classic, with Jeff Gustafson was scoping all those smallmouth in the canals, there was a few clips of it. I remember on Santee Cooper, you could see Brandon Polinick. He caught a fish out of a brush pile on it. But the problem is Bassmaster is specifically sponsored by Humminbird, and MLF is specifically sponsored by Lowrance, and a lot of guys use Garmin.
Boom. Yeah.
So it's all this is coming down to is money. Bassmaster right now is probably just thinking, how do we figure out how to get all these guys on the same page, and we pay them according to Humminbird, which would be absolutely absurd because the Humminbird Mega Live is garbage, and compared to Garmin and Lowrance. But
yeah, I agree.
It's terrible, man.
I mean, they got the turret idea I like, and I don't know why Garmin hasn't come out with their own turret yet. I think that concept is cool, but yeah,
I think it's cool. It's cool if you have spot lock and it's really windy. That's the only situation for me that I would prefer it. But
because doesn't let you switch between using the foot pedal and then locking onto brush piles and stuff.
I mean, it could certainly help, but I fished a tournament on the Potomac today, and the guy who had it just added so much weight to his trolling motor. He had the 360 and the turret on it. I went to lift up his Ultrex. I was like, Jesus. But I mean, you can, if you have it on the foot pedal, for me, it's better, just because I like having the direct contact. Now, if it's locked with the direction of the foot pedal, it's fine, but it's just an added thing in my opinion. Just because having that direct contact with it and being able to swing it freely is really what has helped. Because I fish with a lot of people who are relatively novice with it, and they'll point it over at something and be like, "Oh, there's a fish over there," and then they'll look away from it. It's like if you truly want to like get good at it, you have to continue to stare at it, and it's messed up. And I hate saying that, but it's the truth. And it's just like I've seen people just turn like, oh yeah, there's the brush pile, there's the fish, and they go back to the traditional. Okay, I'm going to cast over there. At least helped me see where the structure was. But the 360 would do the same thing. The live is for figuring out why the fish don't want to bite your bait, or they're reacting to a certain bait or a certain color or something like that. But sorry, I got off on a tangent.
No, that's good, because like that's something. So I have an Ultrex, I have the Garmin live scope, and I also have Mega 360. And the one thing that I've noticed is, you don't always have to shine it on them to like, because I've seen this, like they start spooking and I'll push it away and then make the cast, and then I'll know kind of how they react to it, stuff like that. And I think that's just interesting because you're going to use it to see how they react to the bait. But there's also other times where I just cast in their generic area, and then I'm going to know, like, it's not always you're going to stare at the thing, come up and eat it, and you're going to have success. And I think, at least the novice people I know, they're misleaded that every single fish that you catch on live scope is literally you saw the thing put the bait in his mouth. And that hasn't always been the case for me.
No, I mean, it's not the case. I mean, you can throw over there and just know that there's some fish over there. Like in the Lake Anna Winter Series is a good example for me. It's like we hadn't fished the lake, but at all. Me and my partner Chris Silberti hadn't fished the lake at all, and we went down there last winter and we had really good success. And it was because of forward facing sonar. But I would be on the front panning around, and Chris basically just fan casted a jig, and I could confirm that there was fish on spots, and he beat my ass standing behind me. I would just be like, yeah, they're over in that general direction. And it was hard for me to get fish to bite down there and watch them eat, because that's a lake that's been heavily pressured by the live scope, and I've heard it's got even worse since last winter. So those fish are certainly starting to react to it. So, and that's another point. People say that live scope is forcing fish off of the bank. I heard that in a Facebook thread this week. I saw somebody posted that. If anything, live scope should be making it easier for people that are fishing the bank, because it should be driving the fish out of the deep structure up to the bank, where they're not going to feel that sonar in their face constantly. So I mean, over time, if you're a bank fisherman, the fish are coming to you. So
no, 100%. I saw this comment for Phil. 360 is underrated. Yeah, it is. I think 360 and spot lock is more important for the way I fish, because I like boat control. I mean, I don't mind chasing a fish with live scope, but it gets annoying as hell when I'm trying to lock a cast on, and I have to then take it off spot lock to look at the fish, versus I can look at the brush pile, let's say, and there's fish on it. I'll put spot lock on, and then I'll use my 360 line at my cast, and I can hit a couple of casts, and then I'll go back to maybe scoping it versus fighting the wind and current and crap, because that just gets old after a while.
Yeah, it can be really difficult doing that, but I don't want to take up all your time. We've been on the phone for a while.
Oh, you're fine, boss. Again, guys, I'll try to link his stuff also in the episode description. That is Matt McCluskey. Thank you so much for coming on and just kind of giving your words of wisdom here on the subject. I appreciate it.
I wouldn't call it wisdom, but I gave my 2 cents. But all right, be good. Thanks for having me on.
Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.
All righty, guys. The phone line is back open. So if you want to call in and just talk about this show, we're going to be going here just for another couple of minutes here, because I have about 6 billion comments I have to get through. And just like Nerdrotic, from Gary from Nerdrotic, every message will be answered, even if I have to do a super chat catch-up show. We will make sure every question is actually answered. And next time, I'm going to have you on another computer just to be able to like highlight all these. Actually, yeah, you could take it. And then, yeah, if you guys want to call in, let me get the number back up here for you. If you want to call into the show, the number is 240-542-9877. Again, please feel free to call in. We've had a couple of great callers talking about the pros and the cons of it. I think it's interesting, the evolution of where this is going to be going, and how mad people are about having this live scope. But yet there's other things. And I forgot the time, and I just remembered I was going to ask Matt this actually when he was on the show, 5 seconds ago. The people that learned how to use this technology survived. And I think another great example of that was when Major League Fishing first became a thing, and they had this policy called every fish counts. You caught every single fish, and it counted if it was over a pound or whatnot. And you know what's crazy? There are professional anglers that that absolutely sucked at that format. Brandon Polinick, Gerald Swindle. People love Gerald Swindle, but he sucked at catching every fish. He was dog shit at it. And you know what happened? These people started to complain, and they left and they went to bass. And there were some anglers, like a Jacob Wheeler, that if it's every fish counts, I'm still going to win. If it's 5 fish, I'm still going to win. It was a different format, but there were some people that rose to the occasion. With all this sonar, there are some people that rise to the occasion. And then we can kind of get into the idea of like, should there be a technology ban? I don't really know. I don't know when the cutoff should be. Like the whole thing with cutting 360 off, but we're going to let like spot lock. Do we agree spot lock should stay? Should 360 stay? Good GPS coordinates. I think that's a safety thing. We should probably keep that on the boats. Side scan, that should stay, right? What about trolling motors that cost $5,000? We haven't even brought that up. You know, Garmin's new trolling motor, or not Garmin, PowerPole's new trolling motor, Minn Kota's new trolling motor, both of them are close to $5,000. That's okay. Power poles, are those okay? I don't know. It's an interesting conversation. You're 100% correct on the MLF, that one that left. Yeah, it's just the people that sucked at MLF left MLF and went back to bass. It was a different format that they couldn't do. Oh, we got another caller here, guys. Hello, caller.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Steve Baker from Cleveland, Ohio.
Hey, Steve. How are you doing?
Good, real good. Yeah, so I put it in the comments too, but this is just more out of like curiosity. And sorry if it was already covered, but how could it work if it was allowed, for pre-fishing and stuff, and then during tournament hours they cut it off or did not use it?
I think what is so fascinating about that is, okay, you could find a cove that fish. Let's say you're in the fall.
You're kind of cutting off.
Can you hear me now? Let's say it's the fall somewhere, and you're chasing bait fish in pockets. So you're able to find shad on Thursday in the back of a pocket. Cool. You caught them there. Well, you saw them all. Great. You waypoint that pocket, and then you go out there on the day of the tournament and you don't have it. I mean, that's kind of old information. You're going based off of old information. Now, granted, that would be kind of like the way that it used to be in fishing. You're not going off of information right now in the now. I think that's interesting because I wouldn't want it. I wouldn't want to know. That would make me fish history more if I only had it 2 days ago versus now.
Right.
And I honestly feel like that's what makes LiveScope. That's where I enjoy LiveScope more, is not seeing fish. It's getting the data of knowing, are they up in the water column? Are they down? Are they chasing the bait? Are they not? And I've only caught a handful of fish all year that were like, I saw it take the bait. I had a big tournament at Raystown Reservoir in PA in early. It was early March, and it was cold as hell. And I remember the one place that I found them in, I didn't see bass on the screen, but I saw bait. And that told me to stay there. And I ended up catching them on a blade bait. Never saw them actually take the bait because they were sandwiched to the bottom. It was so cold. It was snowing the day before. But the only reason I knew to stay there was like, well, clearly there's bait here. So there's got to be fish.
Yeah.
And that was great information that told me to stay. And so just going with that, I think that's a really cool thing that you brought up, because I believe there's someone else that brought it up in the comment section as well. If you did that, would it give you a benefit? And comment section down below, what do you think? Would it give you a benefit if you just had it in practice, but not in the tournament? I feel like it would force me to fish way too much history, because I'd be like, oh yeah, it was here yesterday, therefore I need to make it work.
Yeah. I mean, and to your point too, like come tournament day, if the person, like if that particular angler was so dependent on using some type of active sonar or that, active imaging, if they came up complete bust and could not literally catch a fish off that, does that mean anything?
I think it would definitely mean something if you took it away immediately. So example, like the MLF comment I just made, there are some anglers that seem like if it's every fish counts or if it's 5 fish, they kill it. They're great. I think if you took LiveScope away, you would see real quick who are the anglers that they need it to be successful versus the, I guess, all-time greats that they're going to catch them with it. They're going to catch them without it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think what stirred that initial thought was hearing some of the elite guys talk about, if that was not available to some of the maybe newer anglers that had gotten into their tournament trail these last couple of years or whatever, if you did in fact take that away, how big of an impact would it make on their, not just their style, but like their results? Their results were directly correlated to that. So, yeah, that answers it though. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but yeah, that was cool.
Steve, yeah, no, thank you so much for calling in, because that's a really good question to have about whether to use it for that. So, but thank you so much. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah, have a good night.
You too. Again, guys, the number is 240-542-9877. Using it for pre-fishing or not, that is a very interesting idea. Let's see, Phil. Phil, dude, Phil, I didn't even ever ask you in person what your last name is. Phil Mehagan, I guess. Carly, what is his name? Phil Mehagan. Phil Mehagan. There you go. I don't want to do Bakoy again. I don't want to have that as an issue. If you throw a glide bait, they'll eat it on live every time. All right, Phil. There you go. That's how he pimps the product out. We got Thomas Ruby here. Forward facing is future. Change my mind. LOL. Okay, there you go. You can't really top that. We got he's not wrong. I just bought another setup for a boat build. 3,500. Dang, that's insane. Again, guys, call-in number is down below. I'm going to be popping that back up on the screen here. Call-in number is 240-542-9877. I'm going to be taking about one or two more calls, and then we're going to be calling it a night here. So sorry, this was already covered, but is it possible to pre-fish with it and not allow tournament dates? Not hating or just curious. I think that's a fantastic. Yeah, Steve, I'm so glad that we actually covered that. What do you say? Oh, I just talked to him. Yeah, thank you. Sorry, sometimes you get all confused with all this stuff. Let's see here. Forward-facing sonar live scope, rests or copies. I'm for it, just not the elites. What about the opens, AAA, lower level? Hold on, what? Forward-facing sonar is live scope. The rest are copies. I'm for it, just not the elites. Why? So you don't at the top levels, but the lower levels. That makes no sense. So you want to have it so you train to use it all the way up, but in the pros you're not allowed to use it. That makes I would flip it around, Thomas. The pros should be allowed to have it because it pushes money into everyone's pockets because they need the money to survive. But then you have lower tournament. If you want to have a local club and you don't want to have it, that's perfectly fine. It's called capitalism, baby. One club doesn't have it, one does, and we'll see who's more successful. It's just kind of how that works. I love it. King fanning it. I've been talking too long. I'm going to dry my lips with some satanic water, liquid death. Kingpin Sport Fishing 1. Humminbird has the HDMI port. I can say that, but not some people's names. The HDMI port on the top end of the unit. They do. Let's see here. We got just Humminbird has the tech. Yeah, I think more places do it. I think an interesting thing Matt said, Matt McCluskey, was I think the interesting thing was the fact that Humminbird does really push bass. And I think this is an issue when it comes to this next comment here, which is talking about like the Sabine. The reason they go to the Sabine is because they get paid. Clearly that place really, really sucks. They go there for the money. The Humminbird pushing the product is because of the money. That's why Humminbird sponsors Bass. I think Bass and Major League Fishing need to get to the point where they're not reliant on the government money. Sorry. Another topic for another day. Relying on the company's money so that they can actually push out a good product. They shouldn't be sponsored directly by any of the forward-facing sonar brands. That way they can actually uptake that. And I think they are kind of caught in a catch-22. Do you take the money, buy a certain brand, but then you don't display it, but then the product sucks, but then they don't want the product, so it's a negative feedback loop. That is really interesting. Again, guys, 240-542-9877. Last call of the night. Our local club on the river doesn't allow it, which is fine because I can find them on the down scan. That's absolutely amazing there. Carly, who is this person right here? It says, Roger that. Old comments are loading from our convo, delayed for some reason. Huh? Oh, okay. I'm talking about, okay, gotcha. Actually, Humminbird had a lot of ads in the last few MLF events. Oh, Mark, thank you so much. I did not know that. My apologies. But I think it's a very good argument that they need to be like, it's a feedback loop though. It's basically they're sponsored by one brand, so they can't have the feed showing all the brands. And because they don't have the feed that would probably make the viewing better. And so because they don't have that feed, people are complaining about LiveScope, which is probably going to kill the sale of LiveScope, I guess. So what they really should do is not take the money and then figure out a way for all the brands to be able to like stream it. And I think that's got to be a unanimous thing through all these brands. That listen, if we can figure out a way to do this, it helps all of us. It's a rising tide that actually like lifts all boats. Give Marty a call. Yeah, give Marty Lawson a call, because I know Marty wanted to come on earlier and actually talk about this stuff. We talked about share the screen. I got that one up there too. I'm going to have to do like a super chat catch up here. Hitting a baseball like a superhuman is different than seeing grainy images of fish and still having convinced them to bite. I get the idea though with the steroids though, specifically where it makes a good athlete great. LiveScope does the same thing if you know absolutely how to use it. I 100% agree with that right there. We got Phil. Baseball needs roids for it to be mildly interesting. That's not true. Baseball is still extremely interesting. But again, guys, I really think like with baseball, I think because again, that's literally how I made all my money with teaching kids and coaching for like 16 years. You know, baseball is still interesting. Baseball's biggest issue right now is not evolving and trying to make the game quicker, which is kind of what Bass is going through now, that people are not watching it as much as they used to, which is kind of interesting there. We got and then we got right here, got Garmin and Lawrence make the most money per sale versus Rapala striking set. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Bring back Boyd. We'll bring back Boyd at a later episode. We got one more comment here. However, watching the elites can absolutely be a bore, especially with recent tournaments in the northern fisheries. Well, that's where they actually absolutely have to change up their scheduling. They need to change up their scheduling if this is an issue, to where they're not going to those fisheries back to back to back. Can they do that? I don't think logistically they will, because you're not going to go from Champlain to Alabama back up north. You're just not going to do something like that. Do we have any voicemails? Carly. Okay, cool. All right, Mark Edwards. Problem in bass fishing: the non-endemic companies don't get enough money back in returns of their sponsorship. I 100% agree with that. We got Nick. From the POV of a complete newbie with forward-facing sonar, it's a great learning tool, and I don't think anyone would deny that. I don't think it has the power of killing fisheries like some video titles claim. So I think that's an interesting question. They are seeing in some crappie fisheries, they are worried about, and I'm just knowing this because forward-facing sonar really has changed crappie fishing. You're able to target bigger females more than any other fish species, right? You're able to target female crappie way more specifically now, based on how their patterns are, how you can follow them with LiveScope, so you can target them a little bit better. What I think would be interesting for species that you can take out of the lake, like crappie or walleye, I would be interested to see if LiveScope does have an effect on fish populations. If you get better at catching something that you want to keep, does that mean you should change it? Yeah, exactly. It's be like, how many of these crappie are released? That's why I think it's interesting, where I think for bass fishing, that's one thing. But when the comment is made like it's killing fisheries, well, if it's a crappie fishery and you're actually pulling them out to eat, I would like to see the data on that. I would really like to see the data on crappie fishing or stripe fishing or walleye fishing. SB fishing release in degrees. Carly, am I saying this wrong? SB fishing release the grease. Release in degrees. Okay, I said that right. Fantastic. However, watching the elites can absolutely be a bore. Absolutely, guys. I think what we're going to do here, everyone wants him back. Apparently, we have to call Boyd. Call Boyd. So, guys, we're going to finish the show up with Boyd Duckett. They want Boyd Duckett to call back in one more time. I'm going to see if he's actually available, and we're going to get Boyd on the show. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to do a super cat chat catch-up show on Patreon. Again, guys, if you really want to help support the show as we grow, we just launched a Patreon. Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, Boyd. We had a couple more questions for you.
Oh, sure. I'm all about it.
After everything, have you been listening to the show at all?
Absolutely.
I was curious just your thoughts, and after hearing everyone's thoughts, what do you think about Forward Facing Sonar and where it's going from here?
Well, I mean, the old guard is phasing out. Let's be real. I mean, we already seen Kevin Van Dam retire this year, and that's honestly just the start of what we're going to see in the future. I think these young guns coming up, they've mastered the forward facing sonar, and they're going to kick a lot of these old guys out. You might have a couple John Coxes that put up a fight, but the future is inevitable. I mean, for my tournament organization, and so that's why I keep sinking money into it.
Why is it you went away from all fish count that are over, let's say, a pound to a 5 fish?
Well, we tried the all fish count thing, and it just never really took off. People are still hardwired to want to see that bass program, and even the FLW series back in the day. So we decided to reintegrate a 5 fish program, and it's doing okay for us, but hopefully in the future we can integrate more of more of a freestyle program, if you will.
I think that's actually going to be a viable thing to do if you can actually put a freestyle program in there. Do you think all the brands will ever come together? Humminbird, Garmin, and a lot more brands?
I mean, BASS, they're just not aggressive enough. I mean, we got to see business deals requiring a contract with Lowrance, Humminbird, Garmin, Garmin especially. But if you want to see your products featured on national TV, it's got to be live streamed. We got to be able to hook that up. So we're working on bringing that in. But yeah, I think you'll see a lot more of that in the future. A lot more live streaming, screen streaming, tournament wise, on live on national TV. Bass is behind the ball on that, so I think we're trying to get a jump on that before they do.
You made an interesting comment, Boyd. Again, guys, we have Boyd Jr. on the show right now, calling in again. You made an interesting comment in the comment section below about boomers, and really it's the old individuals that just don't understand technology. Would you mind just kind of giving us a little bit more insight into that?
I mean, goodness gracious, you got Rick Klein out there. The guy's 97, still getting it. I mean, he's still out there in his nitro, just giving it hell. I mean, but the reality is the future is forward facing sonar, and there's no way to get around that. You either learn it or you get left in the dust. So, once the old guard retires, I mean, how can you ban forward facing sonar? Because the young guys have gotten so good at it that makes tournaments interesting. We're getting 25, 30-pound bags on places that used to get 20 pounds. So I don't know. I mean, people are just going to have to get used to it. You know what I'm saying?
No, 100%. And then we got a great comment here by Ken Presley. Boyd is 100% on. It's all about the new money. They got the old money. It's all about the future crackhead money. 100% agree with that, Ken. That's well spoken. Very poetic.
I mean, absolutely. I know young guys that can slap a LVS 32 from Marketplace for $600 on their $3,000 rig and go out there and outfish guys that have been fishing on the lake for 25 years. they're not just sniping fish. They're finding things in the lake that lead them, to winning bites. They're not just picking off fish individually. They're finding, the hot creek bed, the hot rock pile, all this stuff. They're finding structure, and they might not even necessarily be sight casting to these fish. They're just using the forward facing sonar to get them on these hot bites. And, I think that's what it's all about. So the guys that are hating on forward facing sonar, I understand some of your argument points, but, you either got to get with it or you're going to get left in the dust.
Closing thoughts, Boyd Jr. Again, guys, Boyd Jr. is on the show here to really give us insight into MLF. What tour stop do you think that your dad put on the schedule? Which one are you looking forward to the most?
Well, I mean, are we talking BFLs? Are we talking Toyota series? Or are we talking the, the Pro series?
You pick.
Well, shoot. I mean, I'm really looking forward to the BFL down here on Kerr Lake. I think these guys are locked and loaded. They really know what's going on, and we've got a big field. This is a super tournament. We got a 2-day weekend. Top 25 fish Saturday. I don't even know. I don't fish it. I just make the money. But, I think these guys are really going to find them. I think they're really going to be on it. And I think we're going to see things from Kerr Lake that we haven't seen in a minute. I mean, I'm talking these guys are bringing in 13 pounds a day. I mean, we're talking weight here. So, we're looking at 26 to 30 pounds to win for 2 days. I mean, that's a serious tournament. So I'm excited to see what these guys do. And I hope the best man wins, and I hope my $5 million endorsement to Garmin really pays out.
Is it true that in summertime tournaments, you really patented the idea of keeping frozen or really chilled course cans in the live well to help keep the water at the right temperature?
See, now this is something I don't like to tell everybody, but the Coors glass bottles hold ice better. So I like to fill those up with water and freeze them pre-tournament day in the freezer while I'm pre-fishing in the lake house. And, I mean, we're the Ducats, so I've got about a $1.5 million lake house on, any tour stop we go to. Not to brag or anything, but yeah, I like to keep about 6 to 12 Coors Light glass bottles frozen in the live well for sure while I'm tournament fishing. Just for the fish's safety and health, absolutely. And then I also like to keep 6 to 12 full Coors bottles in the boat cooler while we're out there, just in case, we need to throw more frozen bottles in the live well, just to help the fish.
Now, there's a quote here that I thought was very interesting that, your dad, did ban drinking during the BFLs. And you're quoted here that in America, you should be allowed to shotgun a beer after you catch a big old watermelon. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. I think we should introduce a rule that, if you weigh in and you've got the winning bag, you should be required to shotgun a beverage of your choice, because this is America and we like to do that sort of thing. So, I think it would really increase fan revenue and engagement, amongst the fans. You should be required to shotgun a beer on live TV. I absolutely think that, and I think that's coming in the future. We're working with our lawyers right now on that, but I don't know. I mean, it's frowned upon, but the majority is in love with it. So, we're going to get it ramrodded through one day or another.
Boyd, thank you so much again for coming on the Soy. Boyd Jr., everyone, I really appreciate all of your insight. And, we all here would like to have you back on the show in the future. And good luck at the Kerr tournament.
Absolutely. I'll be here, and Bass will be out of business within 5 years. Mark my words. Thank you, Thomas. Have a good one.
There you have it, guys. There we go. Real big words of wisdom there. Again, guys, we are going to do a super chat catch-up show on Patreon. Again, if you really could, I would really appreciate it. Please go follow us on Patreon. We have some major goals. We are going to be creating a nonprofit to help do stocking of all of our fisheries. So if you find it in your hearts, link to that in the episode description as well. See you guys next time on Fishing the DMV. Bye. You're listening to Fishing the DMV with your hosts, Thomas Ahrens and Jared Mounts. Fishing the DMV is brought to you by Jake's Bait and Tackle, located in Winchester, Virginia.
If that doesn't get you jacked up, I don't know what will.